Hello everybody, it's Christine at CLAldridge Art, and if you are new to my channel, or if you are just now watching part 2, this is who I am. I do draw coloring books for a living. We are working on a project, and it is in my second book, which is Flower Inspirations. To learn more about the books that I have out, there are a total of 11 of them, then refer back to part 1. I just wanted to jump right in to part 2 of coloring with the Derwent Inktense 12 travel pan, or let's see if I can get it right. This is what it looks like. It is the Derwent Inktense Paint Pan Travel Set. These are professional quality ink-based pigments. Most people are familiar with the fact that they come in pencils. And I do have, of course, the full set of pencils. But I wanted to demonstrate that if all you've got is 12 colors, you can mix whatever colors that you want to mix. And this is the picture in this book that we are working on. I am working on a tropical color palette. Ultimately, the palette will have tangerine, yellows, turquoise blues, and probably a lime green. And so kind of like a tequila sunrise. How about that? And these are the base layers, which is as far as we got in part 1. So we are about to start part 2, so stand by. If you would like to, please like and subscribe to my channel. And also, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can certainly do that. Let's see, we'll let those run. Now, this is the little water brush that is provided by Derwent. It comes in the sets along with the little sponge. Now, I haven't used the little sponge, although you could if you were actually traveling. Because I am here at home, I can go ahead and use a little paper towel and a plate that I have for it. Then that is to be able to dab off my brush. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, I used this kiwi green, which these are the colors that are actually swatched out from this set. This is a very, very dark green, and this is a kiwi green. And so I went over the colors in part 1, but what I want to do is make the centers. Now we're doing a second layer, so I'm going to go ahead and go right back in to some of that blue-green that we made. In part 1. And that is what I dabbed to the outside. But just squeezing my water brush so I can add a little bit more water. And so what I want to try and do is intensify the color. I'm just getting some of the paint off my brush of these in here. And I'm just going to go ahead and wet the whole thing, layering these colors. And we're just building up the colors. Now this is the Amazon paper, and this is the second coat. So the key to working with this paper with water is to have a light touch with your brush and to not scrub. So you'll notice that I'm using brush strokes as opposed to, trying to do that kind of action. Don't go back and forth. And then letting it dry thoroughly between your layers. So now I'm going to dip into the more intense green as we go down here toward the bottom. And so we'll put this layer on and be right back. Okay, there we go. It is now one step darker in green. It may not be as easy to see on camera as it is for me, but it is a much greener green than it was, and that also had the added benefit of blending out a bit of the harsh line of the initial, when we put the the dark blue-green mix that we had done over the lighter, because what that was the kiwi washed all the way out to more of a yellow. So I wanted it to be very, very light because it's easier to go from light to dark than it is to get it too dark to begin with. So now it is almost dry, but I'm not ready to do that yet. What I want to do is see if we can bump these just a bit. Right now they are a little to the yellow-orange side, and I want them to be on the pink-orange side. And I realize now that I did not get it quite right for what I wanted. So I am going to go back into this red. Now, this is the poppy red, and it is already a warm red, and blending it down with water is hopefully going to, it's not going to change the nature of it to a cool red, but hopefully we can get it to where it's not quite so red, because right now it's fire engine red, and I'm trying to think of the colors that change fire engine red to a more pinky red. It's not yellow, so it's got to be blue. Considering that we can't add white. It's just got to be blue. So I'm going to try it with just a tiny, tiny bit of blue. Not a lot. But see how that immediately, well, maybe you can't see it because of the glare. There we go. See how that immediately changed it from a fire engine red to a more pinky kind of red. it's probably very hard to see. I'll just add a touch more of that blue. I don't want to take it so far to purple, but just adding a touch of blue changes it from the orange side of red to the blue side of red. And from there, you can get closer to a pink shade other than just a washed out red shade. That is a lot of water. But see how it's getting closer to pink? We're going to give that a try. Okay. So, let's do it. And I am just going to come down one side of these. I like flower petals like that. So I was over watching, I watch a lot of videos about making videos. And because when I make a video, I think of it as I think of it as a combination of a lot of different things. I think of it as is it, you know, is it fun to watch? You know, because I don't want you to switch it off. Um, is it is it is it in focus? Is it whoops, I need to move stuff around so that you can see it. You know, how are the sound levels? How is the lighting? Is it okay? Are my hands in the way? You know, that kind of thing. Can you see what I'm doing? So consequently, I do watch a lot of videos about making videos. And one of my favorite guys to learn from is a guy by the name of Nick Nimmin. And I love his channel. I highly recommend it. And today he put out a video about you're better than you think you are. And what it was talking about were, you know, the striving every day to make, you know, to learn something. And, of course, I'm going to have to probably set the paint part of it aside so that I can keep working here. Now, you know, obviously, I care about those types of things because I want, you know, I make coloring books. I'm hoping to be here for a long time and with you guys and coloring for a while and doing all of those wonderful things. But I also want the videos to last. You know, for as long as, well, I can't imagine that adult coloring is going to go away. Not at this point in time. But I guess what I want to do is make sure that I'm providing a valuable product for you guys. That's what it is, you know. I'm not foolish enough to think that that I have such a winning personality that people will flock to me. That, I think, is the purview of Anne over at A Colorful Life, who is just a delight to watch. And Dee Dee with her just endless talent, and Sammy with her endless talent. And there are so many wonderful people here on YouTube. But it just reminded me that, you know, that all of what we do every day, regardless of what it is, it's a learning experience, and we're always striving to learn to do it better. You know, we learn to color better. We learn to you know, to tolerate the aspects of our lives better. It's all about a learning experience. And I just think that's wonderful. I really do think that is what life is about. We're here to learn as much as we can. Be curious, be kind, be all of those kinds of things. Now, I may not leave these like this. I just want to see what the overall effect is. But I'm kind of liking it so far. And we're going to make a turquoise blue. I won't make you watch me do all of these. I will finish these up and be right back. Okay, and there we go. Those are all done. Now, I did want to take a pause here for just a second and talk a little bit about color theory. Or not color theory, but pigments, as I understand them. Now, keep in mind that while I do draw books, I am, I've never studied color theory or anything like that. But I have managed to take some cues from a lot of different places. The first place that I took cues from was my computer. When you look at inkjet printer ink, or printer ink, and you look at the color cartridge, it comes in 3 basic colors that mix all the colors that a computer is capable of making on your screen, on in your print work, all of that, and those are yellow, magenta, and cayenne blue. Now, so the next cue that I took was from really any set of markers that you get. For instance, the CLAarts. And when you start to look at the numbers and the swatches of these, which are here, you note that the main color groups are the Y's, the R's, the B's, and the G's. So, red, yellow, basically magenta, which is your red, cayenne blues, which are your blues, and in this case, greens. So, with those bases, because all the numbers in the set either start with Y, R, B, or G. Every single one of them, and all of these colors are in there. And those are the base pigments that were used to make all these colors. So that is what made me think that the blue, just adding a tiny, tiny bit of blue would make that, take that from a hot red to a cool red. And So that is how I learn. I apply, I've always been able to do that, apply the application of one thing to another thing. And that's, I mean, it's really the same thing. I mean, ink is ink, regardless of whether it's made into paint by CLAart or by Derwent. So, based upon that, I want to put blue on this, knowing that blue over this green color, and even though it's already got a layer of blue-green, I want to put a little bit of blue out here on the tips and see what happens. See if it blends in to a more bluey green, almost turquoisey color. Because I also am going to be mixing up an aqua, but not just yet. So let's start with just a little bit of this lighter blue. Not even the bright blue, but the actually the ultramarine blue, this one right here. So we'll do that out here on the end. And I'm just going to use it straight. I am going to water it down just a little bit, so it's not quite as harsh. I'm just trying to get a little bit of the color out of the water, out of the brush, so that it doesn't leave a big wet spot. And we'll zoom down and see if it's true. Ooh, I may actually want to add more blue and not have it watered down so much. Let's try that. Now this one I am being just a little bit more neat with than the first layer. I like the raggedy edge on the green underneath. But I want to see what happens if we go with a cleaner edge, because I can always raggedy it up. Can always make it more raggedy later. It actually is making it into almost a very dark green, which would make sense. But we can always change it by mixing up, even if it's a lighter shade, to make a transition inward. In the meantime, I like the contrast. I like it a lot. Forgot what I was going to say. Not unusual. Let's see here. I hope that everybody is having a great Friday. I'm hoping to get this posted on Friday. I got the first part posted in the wee hours of Friday morning. It is currently still dark outside. And my clock says it's 5:56 in the morning on Friday. So happy weekend eve. And let me put down this layer and I'll be right back. We'll see what we think. Okay, now it remains to be seen if we have made a mistake or not. I am starting to think that with the only partially colored stripes on these, we're starting to get a little too busy. The problem may be with the way that I did this. The jury is still out. I did add the blue also to the tips of the little buds. And it could be that a unifying color on the interior of these flowers will bring it together. That remains to be seen. Let's see what colors are going to be next. Okay, I have decided that this orange is just not going to work. That's just not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and reactivate with a little water some of that red. Fortunately, there's plenty of it. And I am going to go back over the other side of these and make them a solid color. I mean, they're still going to have lots of variegation in them. But they won't be quite as, I mean, when I look at it, it's the yellow, the golden yellow that's bothering me. So I'm just going to go ahead and go around and get it out and come right back. Okay, the offending golden yellow is gone. It was just the wrong tone to go with the greens and the blues. So once again, this is an experiment. It may yet fail, but hopefully not. Okay, so now, fortunately, enough time has now gone by to where this is completely dry. And so I'm not real happy with this clean line that goes around. I think it looks a little too much like stained glass. So now what I want to do is I want to go into my dark blue, and this is the bright blue here on the list, and put a little of that over there. And then I also want to add a little of this, and actually I may just do this, transfer it over this way. So I'm sort of back to this blue-green that we had earlier. Only this time I want it to be a little more blue than green. So I'm going to just try and clean as much of that off over there as I can. Now I want some more green. Now I took it way too far green. See, it's a learning curve. So now I'm going to bring it back blue. One of the things about this, though, is if I get a color that I like, I could just leave it on this palette. Once it dries, it will be just like watercolor in that it'll be good forever. I can always come back to it. Okay, so now let's mix a little of that over here with some water. It's still a little green, but I don't want to take it too far blue. I think that's closer to what I'm looking for. Yeah, I think that's closer to what I'm looking for. Well, let's test it out on something. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good right there. So now I'm going to do just what I did the first time. I'm going to sort of jaggedy up those edges. Oops. It's okay. When it dries, it'll be lighter. And then this is that one is a little bit greener. Just playing with width and all of that. Of course, we won't actually know anything until it dries. Trying to think of what I did last time. We won't know anything until it dries. I want to preserve the sort of glowing center, and remember that these are going to dry a whole lot lighter than they're initially going down. The reason why they look so dark going down is because there is so much color underneath them. And if we don't like it, we will have learned what not to do. And the worst thing that will have happened is we will have a page that we don't like in a book that we spent less than $10 on. That's not to say that you should waste money, but or that every book isn't worthy of being colored pretty. But, you know, the bottom line is that this is a coloring adventure, and we are learning. We're learning what we, you know, things that work, things that don't work, bringing back one of the things that I love to do is to bring things back from the brink of destruction. So just about the time you're ready to toss it out and think, I'm never going to be able to fix this, you manage to do something to save it. And that is half the fun, at least to me, of coloring. I should tell you that it is now I believe 9:27 in the morning here in Virginia. It is about to pour cats and dogs from the sky. I took a walk to the 7-Eleven at about, I don't know, 4 o'clock this morning, and Mother Nature treated me to a lovely light show of thunder and lightning over the Chesapeake Bay. I can't see the bay from my house, but I could see the clouds over the bay. And they've said that we are in for a wet weekend, so they being the weather gurus of the day. I think I'm going to pull this off. I do. It may not be quite as tropical as I initially thought. I think I messed the, instead of the dark blue green, I should have been going for a more like an aqua green, but we may yet pull that off too, because I haven't seen quite how this is going to dry yet, so. We had a stretch of some nice days last week, though. Actually, last weekend it was so beautiful here. It was in the mid-80s, and it was nice to be able to actually go outside without, you know, feeling like you needed to strap on oxygen or a dehumidifier. Oops. I was in Walmart the other day, and all of the back to school stuff is, the shelves are all filling up, and apparently this weekend is the annual free tax. I think it's today. It could be over the entire weekend, but it's the every year Virginia has a tax-free day on back to school. So anything for back to school is tax-free. It saves 6%, I believe, in this state. So if you've got, you know, multiple kids going back to school, that could be a big savings. I always wait until after the initial flush of back to school is over, and then because then you can pick up things like composition books and folders, and I use a lot of lined tablets and stuff like that to make notes on, sketchbooks, stuff like that. Oops, something got away from me a little bit. That's okay. So let me continue around and finish adding this dark. I know it seems like we're just adding colors, but I mean, how many layers is this? And look, the paper is holding up nicely. I like the way it's sort of fading in to the rest. And so let me do this part, and I'll be right back. And like magic, that is so much better. That is really much more the effect that I was going for. It has started to dry, and I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. I like the fact that I was able to preserve a lot of the color variation in the tangerines, and there's tons of color variation going on in the green blues, and with just that touch of green, of the lime green showing in there, it makes the whole flower look like it's glowing. So I am really liking that. Now I'm going to use that same color, and it is now dried. A few minutes have actually gone by. It wasn't this one, it was actually this one up here that I was using. And I'm going to use that same color for these little fern type, the leaves that go to that. And I'm going to try and just preserve the purity of the color. By just taking it from the little corners. And go around and do these. So as I turn off the camera and work on these repetitive bits, I've got old westerns playing on the television every morning. H&I, which is Heroes and Icons, plays through a series of starts at 5 a.m. with Cheyenne, which was a western that starred Clint Walker, who was a hunk and a half, definitely the George Clooney of his age, which was the early, or actually it might have been the late 50s. And that is followed up by Maverick, which was James Garner. And then there was another actor that played his brother Bart. And so every week it was either, it was a weekly hour-long show, and it would feature either Brett or Bart, both of whom were professional gamblers. And that is followed up by the one that starred Steve McQueen. Excuse me. Wanted Dead or Alive, that's it. So Steve McQueen was in a Western series that was a half-hour broadcast every week, and I can hear all the kids going, "Who is Steve McQueen?" But people my age remember. He was a hunk too. Although I never really thought of him that way. But I enjoyed Bullet, which was it was filmed in San Francisco, and for the longest time, I think before the Fast and the Furious franchise, the Bullet chase scene in San Francisco where he's driving a 1968 or 65 Mustang, might have been 68, was largely thought to be one of the finest auto chase scenes ever filmed. And they actually filmed it on the streets of San Francisco. But that is followed by, what one comes next? All right, so it's Steve McQueen. Paladin. Oh, Paladin. That was my mother's favorite. That one starred Richard Boone, an actor named Richard Boone, who was one of those sort of craggy-looking actors that was handsome in that rugged kind of way. And I love that one because he plays a gentleman, actually. It's called Have Gun Will Travel. And, but he actually plays he's a gun for hire. Anybody with a just cause can hire him for $1,000. But his lifestyle is what really, so he's got the character that he is, which is the man sort of dressed in black, and he wears he's a knight. A paladin is a knight, a mercenary for hire. And so he is a knight of his age. And he was my mother's favorite. And so there's 2 episodes of that, followed by Ride, which is, of course, the one where Clint Eastwood played Rowdy Yates for so many years. And it's about cattle drives. And then that is followed up by The High Chaparral, which is Leif Erikson, and he plays John Cannon. Linda Crystal played his wife. So that's what I get to watch while I'm doing those. Okay, so now on to the next. So now I keep trying to find that aqua blue. And so I'm going to try one more time. And I cleaned out a little spot here on my palette to try again. So now this is the Teal Green, and I'm going to use it plain. I'm going to water it way down. I'm going to try not mixing it with anything. Just the color. These stubborn little bubbles that come out of trying to think of a way to get that more of a aqua, and it could just be and I just need to trying to get rid of that little puddle that developed right there by just sort of picking it up and using the water over here. And I think that when this dries, it will be the color that I want. Right now it's looking a little dark, but I think that it will be the light color that I'm hoping for. And so I will continue on around with this and we'll see how this looks. Okay, I'm liking that aqua blue. I took it right out to the edge. It is exactly the color that I wanted it to be to suit my tropical palette. Now the next color that I'm going to choose is pink. I'm going to try and use it here in the gemstones, or you know, the pearls, and I'm going to reconstitute this over here because I believe that it is the color that I want. So I'm going to start out, and you're going to think that I'm crazy, but I'm going to wash the entire area here with this light pink. And then I will come back in and do some detailing. So I'm actually treating it as if it is one area, but I will then change it to a more detailed. Whoa, boy, did I hit the wrong area there. I got into the green on my palette instead of the pink. So just wanting to make sure I get all of that green off my brush. So that I don't accidentally get that into the pink. I suspect that I'm probably going to have to make up some more of this pink. So I'll have to remember exactly how I did it. But that's the magic of videotape. I can look back and find out. Just going to darken that up just a tiny bit. And I'm going to continue on around. and then I will be back to show you. Well, actually, I might as well do it right here. I'm trying to make sure that this video doesn't run super long. It's in so many little pieces right now that I no longer have any clue as to how long it might be. Okay, so we're going to take a little tiny bit of that blue. Oh, I do believe that was way too much of that blue. So go back in here, grab the red, restore that back down, put in tons of water. Still too much. Okay. Well, in that case, what we will do is grab a second palette. That we can continue to add water to. I think that is closer to what I want. Yes. Okay, so that will work. So that was the poppy red mixed with just a tiny bit of the bright blue, and I do mean a tiny bit. So let me color this all around, and we will be back. Okay, well, here we are back. Now, I don't hate it, but I have to say that I'm not actually in love with it. So while I contemplate that pink that I put on, which may or may not be a mistake, let's work on something else. So having mixed a lot of other colors, I am going to go back to this lovely mango just as it is and use it to do just the centers of these other flowers. Let me pick one that you can actually see. Just throwing a little bit of water in there to sort of thin it down. And then we'll think about, I'll give a think about that pink and see how I feel about it. You don't always know, at least I don't. Now I looked up a tropical color palette and all of these colors were in it. I'm just not quite sure that I have used them in the best way. So, like I say, I don't hate the pink. I need to do something with it. I just don't know what yet. And sometimes when you're coloring, you do get to that point. And that is, a lot of people will stop and they'll get frustrated at that point. And And I learned this from Cinnamon Cooney at the Art Sherpa. You just have to fight it out. You have to to keep going and see what happens. I mean, that's what I did with this center flower. I was really unhappy with it for at least 4 of the layers until we put that last layer on, and I liked it. Is it what I intended? No. Is it cool? Yeah, I kind of like it. Now I am liking this this light mango against this darker orange. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's the perfect color for it. It's just different enough from the flowers, but not too different. Gonna flip the book so I can reach these last 2. If you have an idea as you're watching about those pinks, that pink that I used, shout it out. Hopefully I'll hear you over the universal waves. I think it might just need to be a darker color rather than that pastel pink. But I have to visualize it in my head, or at least try to. And so, having done that part, let me clean off my brush, and I will do the centers. I almost want to do the centers green, but I don't think I'm going to. I think I know what I'll do. Have I colored the page before it? I don't think so. I was going to say I could use those little glitter gems that I got for the centers on those flowers, but I don't think that I've colored the, I think what I may do is take a little bit of brown and mix it in with the mango, what's left of the mango. Go over here and grab some more of this orangey mango. Get a nice soft brown. And see how that looks on the inside of these. That's not too bad. I can always make them gold or something like that. And with those Zier glitter pens, I could even, or glitter acrylics, I could change the color to something brighter. I could even change it back to green, since they are in fact acrylic. So I think we'll leave that. And now I need to decide about that pink. Let's try I'm looking for my little plate. I misplaced it off to the side somewhere. Alright, let's try another layer. Only I'm going to pull, instead of this watered down version that I had on this palette, I'm going to go for the more concentrated version that I had over here. And I'm just going to start with some of the furthest edges and see what happens. That's a terrible angle for me. There's too much pigment. Wipe some of that off. There we go. And just work it from darker to lighter. Maybe even go back up there, pick up a little bit more of the lighter version of it. And see if that helps at all. Just bumping up the color a notch. I'm kind of liking that. I like it a little more wet. So let's see how that will work. Do the same thing. Over here. Sorry, flip it. I do that a lot because I like to work on the downstroke as opposed to trying to push upward. My hand is not as coordinated trying to do it like that as it is on the down. Now I'm going to go up and grab, once again, a little bit more of the watered down version to do the center and sort of blend it all. Alright, it all looks the same right now, but I think it'll look different when it's dry. So let me do that all the way around and I'll be right back. Okay, well it's still in the process of drying, but that is definitely the ticket. Bumping that color to darker was the thing to do. Could just be that I am very fond of the jewel tones. Pastel colors actually make me uncomfortable. Although I don't mind a pastel field. So, for instance, the aqua blue, I think is a perfect foil for underneath those. Now I am going to do this little flower up here in a solid color. I'm just going to go ahead and choose the pretty green that we've made up over there. It is dark. Dark is okay. I think it's okay for it to be dark. And then, okay, so there's that. Clean up the brush one more time. But then the center can be just a dab of the lovely bright green, kiwi green. So that's all sort of blended together there. All right, so I think that I am going to edit these rendered pieces together, or edit these pieces so far together. If we're close to an hour, then this will be part 2. We shall see in a second. I'll be right back. Okay, well, editing the pieces together shows me that we are at about an hour and 15 minutes. So I am going to stop here and call this part 2. Now, I did just notice that there is a version of this drawing that I did as a mandala only. I didn't color it, but if you like the drawing but don't want the rest of it, look, it's in the mandalas book. So there it is. And so there's that. That's one of my 11 books. See, I had to sneak in at least one. And this, of course, once again, is Flower Inspirations. There will be a part 3. We will continue on. I did actually do a couple of things while I was watching the pieces edit together. I darkened up the stems using the green. Pardon me. Once again, as soon as the moisture kicks up, so does my cough. So I do apologize. But at any rate, I used the dark green, which was also part of the color that I used here. And I like the way that it made, these were a little bit too splotchy looking when I used the one that I had originally mixed up here. So the jury is still out on the pink, and I'm going to think about it, but I will probably off camera add I've decided to extend the aqua border out to this section so that it will be inside this bar. I want these to be a bright yellow, so we'll do those when we come back. I want the background to be a blue. And to me, this has always looked like a fairy's dining table. So this is the table, and these are all the little chairs and stools, and these are the chair backs, and these are the You know, the kind of frou-frou fanfare on the back of the chairs, where the king and the queen of the fairies sit, and the other king and queen sit, and so it's a communal dining table. That is really what was in my head when I was drawing this. It was a a flower fairies communal dining table. And so, on that note, until we meet again with part 3, which I will start to work on right away, please color something pretty. Bye, everybody.